everybody. It's JPC again, and this is episode number 11 of Back in My Day. This week, I want to talk about motivation. Talk a little bit about what motivates me or how I kind of get motivated, but then also a little bit about how I maintain motivation, what keeps me going when things are getting tough. Um, and maybe some little kind of extra things at the end talking about I guess mental resets and redefining success and how I do those things. um of course, caveats are these are things that have worked for me or things that I've tried and didn't or and tried and found to be successful. um at the end of the day, it really is about finding something you love, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and or finding ways to love something you want to do. Everybody's different, and this has been kind of um, me discovering who I am and what makes me tick, and hopefully it's helpful for anyone listening and looking for these things for themselves. All right, well, let's get into it. Well, actually, before we get into it, I'm supposed to say, please, if you're enjoying the content, like and subscribe and comment, and uh, gives me a little virtual pat on the back, and does wonders for keeping me motivated. Huh? Topical. To keep going, and feels like I'm helping people out. Please let me know. Those things are any of these things have been beneficial. Any of these things are not beneficial. If you have additional questions or feedback, of course, throw them in the comments below. All right, now let's really get into it. Um, Finding motivation. So we'll talk a little bit about what motivates me and what I've kind of discovered. Um, there's always been this. I want to be a this type of person or that type of person. There was a time where I wanted to learn chess because I thought it would be great to be able to say that I learned chess. And then I started learning chess, and I decided I didn't like it. There's a lot more memorization to kind of openings and things that I learned. Again, there's a lot more to it than that. But I remember at the time, um, it didn't sound like it was something I wanted to put effort into. Um, so I remember lots of times having the desire to be a certain type of person and then finding things that did or didn't motivate me um, around that. Um, I found out through time that uh, I like I like being challenged. I really do like being challenged, but I need to find more frequent feedback loops. They don't always have to be positive, but they have to be frequent enough that I feel like I can utilize them. So again, that kind of took chess off the table, and um, I tried to power through it later on. Actually, like within the last, I think, 5 years or so, I actually played Dota. I was trying to choose between Dota and League, and I chose Dota, but it would have been the same experience regardless of which one I chose. And it was difficult for me to remain motivated within Dota. There's some other things that I found out recently actually playing Valorant, but one of the main challenges I had with Dota was feedback loops. And I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but I can't. You have one chance at the landing stage per game, and if every game is what 35, 45 minutes, sometimes longer, um, then your one chance at that first whatever 7 to 10 minutes is that's a slow feedback loop for me. And then I could queue up another game immediately, and it would be different heroes. I'd be in a different. I could be, radiant or dire. Um, Within that, completely different type of offlane agent, or sorry, hero against me. Different pause four against me. I like to play pause five, so that's the other challenge. Is if I'm playing solo queue, me as a pause five, every game I'm gonna have a different pause one with me, very likely, unless I duo up. And it'll be a different person as well as a different hero landing against two different heroes with two different people playing it to different playstyles. And I get one chance at that. So I can practice something. I can practice uh, properly denying creeps while still um, uh, harassing the four and the three. Could do that. But if the very next game I decide to choose, I don't know, like Ogre Magi, I don't even know if he's a pos five anymore or not, but choose Ogre Magi, and the other team picks Lena as a pos four. Um, for those that don't know, Ogre Magi is melee. Lena has one of the longest, or used to have one of the longest ranged right clicks in the game, and you're just not going to harass enemies with that, right? And um, so that whole landing stage is gone. So whatever I was practicing, if I was practicing that, that game is thrown out the window in terms of getting that work in. So I do have to work on. I have to figure something else to practice. But what that felt like was within the realm of, let's say, 20 games. I got to practice that specific thing I was working on. I don't know, 40-ish% of the time, which I know is not terrible, but at the same time, that's a long time to not get the opportunity to get the feedback on it. So you have things where I could have done customs. I could have found ways to do um, whatever 10 mans and try to do those things, but that would have also taken a lot of effort um, to go down that path. Anyway, so I found that out that those kind of slower feedback loops, especially for something that I'm self learning, um, was near impossible for me to enjoy. uh, then so I can turn around and talk about how that kind of motivates me on that other side. Is like that's one thing I really like about Valorant, and I would have liked about most first person shooters that had the objective based gaming tactical shooting. Every round I get to attempt something else. Every round I get to react to what somebody did the round before. Right, it's 140-ish seconds. Um, sorry, a minute 40 uh, that I get to do that and play those that round, and then I get to try it again. And there are games where, especially on Icebox, let's just hit A every single time. Um, what didn't work? Oh, somebody could have an op here, but I can plan that. The feedback loops are faster, and um, it was something that I was able to check the box. So kind of going into how that motivates me, like I can check it and ask, did I or did I not succeed? And regardless if it's a yes or a no, there's an immediate um, plan of attack after that. And that's really what it is. I get that kind of hit of success or failure, and both of them are motivating. I'm okay with losing. I'm okay with failing. Um, not always, obviously. I want to win games and I want to win rounds, and I don't want to go triple negative. But at the same time, if I'm applying the feedback loops properly, then every round is a new chance to try something new, and that motivates me. I love to be challenged, but I have found, and again, I originally thought I was somebody who could just go in and be challenged by whatever and just power through and find ways to learn. But turns out that chess, which Dota, right? You have an opening stage, an opening phase that you don't get another chance at until the game is done, um, type of thing. So, and I know there are faster games. There's whatever Hujin plays. What is it, bullet chess or something? you could find faster ways to play the different games and stuff, but um, I didn't find those things whenever I was thinking about chess. I also feel like that was something that motivated me for things like baseball. Every pitch is a new opportunity. Every at bat is a new opportunity. So batting was fine. You kind of had challenges with things in the field, like you're not going to get a double play every round, so you're getting practicing your double plays. But you're at practice, you can get a runner, a first baseman, a second baseman, a shortstop, um, and a hitter, and you what is that? That's five people. You need someone to throw the ball, so six people maybe, and you know you could go practice that, and we did that. You know, they actually have double play drills that they do all the time. So I don't know. Physical always felt like there was a way to go back, look at it, and retry, retry, retry. Whereas I'm the only person on this side of the screen. I'm the only person at my keyboard. I'm the only person using my mouse. Um, those feedback loops just felt very different. And um, yeah. And then VOD reviewing those things, um, it's very easy for me to kind of gauge. I did this round, the very next round. What do I do and how do I react to it? And I can see how I adjusted and if I need to fix my adjustments. Which again in Valorant, or sorry, in Dota was just, it was very very difficult to see. So we're talking about what motivates me, like feedback loops, very quick feedback loops, or ways to break down longer feedback loops and utilize them with some repetition. Practicing those games with phases just felt very very hard to stay motivated with. Yeah. So it's a little bit, I don't know, kind of detailed out what I felt like was easier or hard with regard to getting motivated about something, learning about it. I actually uh, go into a little bit as I phase into, the what how do I maintain kind of motivation, or parts of how I maintain motivation. So I want to talk a little bit about what's it's called situational leadership. You can look it up. It's I don't think it's huge. I don't know how big it is, but we went through kind of a boot camp, I guess, when I moved into a leader, people leader role. But there was something about it that really stuck with me. So there's four phases of leadership, because there's four phases of development, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail around it because a lot of it's kind of nonsense. But um, when somebody first comes into a position or a task, they're very motivated. They're always very motivated, and I think everyone can kind of gauge that. I mean, give or take, right? Somebody has to go shovel shit. They're probably not going to be motivated about that. Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to go shovel that shit. But for the most part, when we actively go into something and want to go do something, um, we tend to be very motivated about it. And part of that is there's a lot of confidence in what I now know, and what I can apply to this position or this task or this whatever. Um, but there's low competency, which is, it's not meant to be a negative thing, but um, high confidence but low competency going in, because we don't know what we don't know. Um, it's the case with everything, and if it, that's how it was with Valorant. I know I gotta click people and shoot people, but I had no clue about movement. I had no clue about, again, jump peeking. I had no clue about um, just, yeah, you name it, dead zoning. None of those things were a top of mind, but I knew that I could move my mouse and click on somebody, so I was excited to get in and see that. And then when you start to see like the skill gap of these things, what you then turn into and kind of move into is called the second stage of development, which is the disillusioned learner, is what they kind of tag it as, which is that you start to realize the things you don't know, and you start to realize that your competencies are actually probably worse than you originally thought. And so not only do you have low competency still because you're aware of it, but you now have low confidence. So this is like one of the worst stages to have an employee in, or a student in, when it comes to kind of those things. And then it kind of like it moves up into wavering confidence, but a little bit more competency, and then the last stage is like highly confident, highly competent in there. So 1 through 4. And what happens whenever you kind of move up, you can slide back very easily. And um, what it kind of motivates me is when I fall into the second stage, the disillusioned learner stage. Um, Seeking information is something that motivates me as well. So as I kind of move into okay, so the gold guide, right? Play Reina, click heads, do these things, and I was skyrocketing through silver. And as I got into gold, and things weren't working as easily, and one of the first things that Wahujin pointed out was like, you can't just get close to an angle and then quickly peak anymore. You have to find a way to not angle yourself. So it was one of the first things I started to learn. Shit, that took me like almost 2 weeks to figure out how to not do just in deathmatch alone. Um, and so that's why they kind of call it the dragon, right? When they talk about the dragon um, uh, in the server, the that's kind of that the loops are kind of those stages, and anytime you're declining, you're falling back into a two, um, into that disillusioned learner because you're learning something new and it's going to make you lose confidence. Um, and I have lost confidence. I'll never say that I have not lost confidence. It gets very, very difficult to get smoked in a game and not understand why. Um, that's hard to maintain motivation when it comes to that. But I usually need a night to reset, go back and VOD review, and my confidence kind of comes back. And again, I think that a lot of that helps with Wahujin's uh, videos, going and finding something that is relevant to the challenge that I'm in. He did not provide a lot of coaching. That was the whole point of the series up until Diamond. There was not a whole lot of coaching. There were pointers here and there, but nothing that I couldn't have found in a guide. Give or take a couple of drills that he gave me. The binding knife to W drill was something that he gave me, but then he ended up providing out to everyone else. And I think there was like the middle of the range drill that he gave me. I'm sure there's a couple more, but outside of a couple drills, like I didn't get tons and tons of strategy play or um, I guess macro type things. So finding out how to learn those things and figure those things out was actually a lot of fun for me. And even when I would slide into that D2 position and being disillusioned, I liked finding those things out. And so I would say that kind of motivation also for me is like the context of things. I get very motivated seeking out answers. So that may be something that's very, particular to me or people like me. And I don't know how to make somebody like context, but I am obsessed with context. I want to know the answer to um, why something is happening or why something did happen. And I will search as far as I can for it. So again, one of the reasons I like VOD reviewing is I want to go back and look at that, and I can also very easily in a self review um, n- reduce how angry I am or how tilted I am from a loss, because it becomes a tangible, objective thing. Oh, I peaked very poorly here. Oh, look, I'm panic spraying. Um, those things become um, less frustrating to see in hindsight, which is why the faster I can VOD review, the better off I am in terms of like my mental. But that's what keeps me motivated is finding that kind of feedback loop to ask myself why I'm in a position to here, why I'm a disillusioned learner, um, and kind of get out of that funk. And I think the other side of it is like, again, finding ways to make it fun. And again, that's why I kind of brought up context because that is really fun for me. But then when I build in like my plan of attack, right? I've been given a drill do something, and then I will create smaller targets to push me further to go into that. Even DMs alone, like I don't care. I'm not trying to win DMs. I just happen to be winning about 10% of my DMs right now. But my goal is to um, peek smarter, move around the map smarter, put myself into areas of the map where I can't get snuck up on, and then holding those areas. Um, my my KD in death matches has gone up significantly. I'm dying a lot less, um, and I don't feel like I'm just sitting there camping. I feel like I'm moving around. I feel like I'm the one peeking, and things like that. So yeah, maybe I'm coping a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a filthy camper, but I've gotten better at it, and that came from figuring out how to make DMs. Sorry, how to build a target in DM, and part of the target was I needed to get more kills. I have a right now it's like 28.3, I think, is my average kills in DM. So my goal is to have 29 or higher. And the best way for me to have 29 or higher is to not constantly be dying. So I kind of did this attacking and defending kind of thing um, within DMs, and that actually motivated me to enjoy DMs and find ways to play more DMs because I knew it was something that I needed to do. So yeah, making it fun would be the kicker there. Um, all right, so the last thing I kind of want to go into is like two different things. It's mental resets, and it's redefining success. So I've had a couple conversations about redefining success with some people in the Discord via DMs or in different channels, and um, it gets a little confusing. And I don't always have the answer of what's the best way to redefine success, but I know that when I see somebody talking about how they are bottom fragging every game, and um, they're hating Valorant right now, it's like, okay, you got to stop worrying about like, are you winning games? Yes, I'm winning games. Then who cares? Um, or I'm top fragging and I'm losing. Okay, like stop worrying about winning. The winning portion is what's hurting you. So when I talk about redefining success, it's one of the things that I had to do to again reset when VOD reviewing instantly wasn't working. This was something I had to do, and so right now, what I'm working on currently is the pre-round routine. Um, for those that don't know, pre-round routine right now is I have a trigger at the that I'm going to start my pre-round routine. Right now, it is taking a deep breath in, exhaling sharply, and then I look at the econ, which should include the kind of the ultimate updates. Um, then I look at the where my team is positioned, kind of how they're set up, and then I define a plan for myself. It usually needs to include somebody in the plan, and then I calm that plan. That's my pre-round routine and my definition of success. So I've redefined success right now. I do not care if I top frag or bottom frag. I don't not care if I win or lose. I don't care if somebody DCs or AFKs. If I do that pre-round routine every single round, then I've won. I've created a new metric for success, and I don't worry about the games. I expect to derank as I'm doing this. I expect to lose more games. Um, so it's but that's part of it is you find something that you are focusing on, and that's all you care about. And I think when I was doing gunfights, when I was trying to do my gunfight hygiene, that one got a little bit harder because sometimes it wasn't a fair fight. Sometimes it was just, I was getting um I was being flanked constantly, or sorry, I was being lurked on constantly, and I wasn't thinking about that. I was just looking for fights. Um it was hard to feel like my gunfight hygiene was improving, but when I would go back and VOD review, I could see that my fights that were gunfight hygiene eligible, right? Those 50s that I should have been winning, I was winning more often than I was losing. And then I had to find ways to to improve on that. And again, a lot of that's DM work, and you can go back and VOD review your DMs and kind of see those things. But in game, it got really hard with all the utility and all the kind of different strategies that people do. And you have to worry. So redefining success is really important, I think, for growth. And again, I'm happy to talk about this, but I think that there's a lot more nuance to it than just kind of building a new goal. You really have to focus on your current um, focus. I hate saying the word twice, but what's your current focus? And um, you have to ignore everything else. Who cares about your teammates' comms? Who cares about did your team follow your instructions? Like if you're focusing on building strategies, it doesn't matter if your team follows them. It doesn't matter if they worked. What matters is you built a strategy and you put it out there. Because if it's not working this game, if people aren't listening, if people aren't, it does none of those things matter. The next game they might, and so you need to do the habit. You need to practice the habit, regardless of what your team is or isn't doing with you. Um, and expect to lose. Like I think that's the other part is who cares about your rank right now? Unless you're already ascendant, immortal, whatever, maybe even immortal is the floor there. Your rank doesn't matter. You're trying to get better. If you were meant to be in ascendant, if I was meant to be an ascendant, I would already be an ascendant. But clearly, I have a ton of shit to work on. So I'm not worried about winning or losing right now. Over the long run, um, by doing the things I'm working on, I will eventually get there. Um, which again is easier said than done for sure, but you just have to remind yourself that remind yourself of that. And I've lost sight of it before, when the act ended and I was really close to hitting diamond, and then I knew I wasn't going to hit diamond at the end of last act. I tilt queued myself almost back to plat 2, simply because I was frustrated by it. And those are the things that you just have to be mindful of and accept that you made that mistake, and move on and go next. And it is what it is. So yeah, that's my two and a half cents on redefining success. I think another thing for motivation is giving yourself mental resets. So I added mental resets here. So not gonna get too winded into this, but give yourself a fucking break. Like take a day off, take 2 days off, take 5 days off, take a week off. Who cares? You're not gonna lose progress that you've made because you took a week off. I've taken 10 days off before and came back and actually performed much better, because all the weight was off and you're not worried about it and you kind of go back. If you want to be VOD reviewed, you got to be able to do 5 days a week for 2 weeks. Um, that means that you can take 4 days off and not have the still be able to VOD review within a 2 week window. Those could be 4 straight days or whatever. The other side of that is don't always don't always go into games wanting to be VOD reviewed. Right? Take this week, whatever. Come back in 2 weeks. Right? Take this week off, and then go back to your routine for the next 2 weeks, and you will be again eligible for VOD review. So that's a Wahoojan specific thing for in terms of VOD review, because there's a consistency metric. Um, just putting that out there. It's okay to take a break. You should absolutely give yourself breaks, and go on from there. So for me, when I take breaks, I still actually um, VOD review or look at pro gameplay or do my practice. I always do my practice when I can. So I think it's very important to note that if the comp game is what is giving you stress or pressure or um, demotivating you, that doesn't mean you don't. That doesn't mean you have to stop practicing. That doesn't mean you have to stop doing parts of it that can still keep you ingrained. And I actually really enjoy, like, I currently have a Kovacs routine that Wahujin gave me. I told him I was going to take last week off because it was my birthday and a bunch of other stuff going on at work and at home. And I was just like, I'm not even going to stress myself out about it, but I'll do my practice. And I've done my practice every day. Um, no problem. I did my DMs, I think, except for one day, within my practice as well, and I've been watching VCT. I've been watching pro gameplay, and I still kind of stay connected to it and try to keep it. I watch every morning. I watch Wahoojan's streams, right? So just stay connected to it. That, but if comp is the thing that's demotivating you, it's okay to take a break from it. To give yourself that mental reset, I think it's very very important. All right, that's it. Again, went no longer than normal. Getting long winded in these. Quick recap, right? So, kind of what motivates me. I kind of talked about liking context and needing kind of feedback loops, and I urge you to um, figure out what that is for you. If you don't need quick feedback loops, you can play different games than I can. I think that's ultimately what it is. If you need feedback loops, you have to figure out how to give yourself those feedback loops if they are plausible. Um, Making learning fun, kind of went over that and talked about kind of those phases of development, and then when you're falling in this kind of disillusioned learner um, phase, finding ways to build up your confidence and focus on the competence part, but just know that it's okay to fall there, and and you have to find your way out of it. And again, part of that is the feedback loops. I think knowing that feedback loops give me motivation. Then when I fall into these kind of, disillusioned phases, when I'm on that part of the dragon, um, accepting that it's because I don't know enough, but I have to find ways to give myself the confidence back so that I can focus on the competence. Um, Very important. And then lastly, just give yourself a break. Mental resets are very important. Um, don't play simply to maximize consistency. It's okay. Um, and then alternatively, redefine success. Find a way to create metrics that are not based around the outcome of games that don't matter. Your rank today does not matter. Um, Immortal 1 JPC would kick the shit out of the Diamond 1 JPC, and therefore none of my games today matter. It's about getting better so that I can get closer to the Immortal rank that I'm trying to aim for. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you, you all for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Next week, I'm going to do dealing with failure. I'm actually planning on having somebody join in on that podcast next week, to talk about dealing with failure and trying a little bit different method of discussion. So hopefully that is fun and entertaining, and we will go from there. Nice. Put that in at the end there. All right. Thank you all. Have a good night. GG's and good luck in your games.